Hey everyone. I, of course, am Lyndsay with Smooth Sailing Business Growth, Smooth Sailing Podcasting, and going live here with the awesome Yann Ilunga. And of course, I have known him for years. We've done summits together. I don't even remember how we met, but you've been on my show years ago. And of course, we've collaborated, and you're a podcasting expert, lead gen expert, processes. Like, oh my God, you know so much.
Hi, Lindsay. I'm excited to be here to be talking to you. I think you and I have interviewed each other. I've lost track of how many
I know,
times,
right?
actually. Yeah,
It has been a lot. I know, because we've probably known each other for like 7 years or something. It's a long time.
something like
I
that. Yeah, I think
know. And it's
through
so
some
cool to be friends on.
interviews, I
Yeah,
think we met something
exactly.
like that.
And that's the beauty about podcasting is that you meet people on the other end of the world and you become friends, which is
True.
amazing. But today we are chatting about using podcasting for lead generation. And so, why don't you tell me a little bit about your experience with podcasting and how it's helped you grow your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm originally from the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. That's why I have this funny Macroni accent. But I've been living in in Helsinki, Finland, for about 10 years now, and I've been podcasting since 2014 to date with the different shows I've
Yeah.
hosted for my own business, as well as a couple I've created for some clients. I've produced over 400 episodes. I do guesting as well. And for me, I think that podcasting, when approached from both sides of the mic, it's really making you getting the most out of the medium itself. So I feel that if you're only hosting, you're missing out on something. And if you're only guesting, same applies to you. In terms of what podcasting has done for my business, it has done so well. I say podcasting, hosting, and guesting sandwiched together. It has
Yes.
done countless things. I've been invited to speak at conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I've built a community. At the time we are live streaming this, a community that was dubbed by Forbes podcasting community to join, called Podcast Growth Mastermind. And to date, I think we're approaching the 4,900 members, which is nice. We have
Ooh.
podcasters, podcasting fans, podcast guests from different levels, from different parts of the world. And then
Mm-hmm.
it has also served as an asset that I've been using for generating leads, and in some cases, even acquiring clients. I've done some interviews, for
Absolutely.
example, as a guest, where I've gotten then, in some cases, the host, him or herself, asked me, how does it work to hire you? And then also some listeners, same for my own shows, some listeners reached out and asked, okay, how does it work? I'm interested. I've been listening to you, or I've just listened to you for the first time. You were the guest, and I would be interested in working with you. So that's, in a nutshell, what podcasting has
Yeah.
done for me, has helped me to grow my network, build and foster a community, generate leads, and get clients.
I know. It's honestly, it feels like the one-stop shop where it's like there's so many benefits. And it's funny, like with lead gen, I think people don't automatically think of podcasting. I mean, you may think of it in regards to like if you're guesting on a show, obviously you're going to share a
Right.
lead on it and get leads in that way. But I mean, that's not the only way. So I really want to give you the floor and share your wisdom on informing people just all the different ways that you can create more leads through podcasting.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to try to touch upon lead generation for different scenarios, so that depending on
Perfect.
who's listening to us, at least one of them should apply to them, and
Totally.
it's something that they should be able to run with it and implement it relatively quickly. So the first thing, before we actually dive into lead generation and strategies and tools, you need to look at your business and what does your lead generation process typically looks like, if you have one, and also how does your client acquisition process look like. How do you convert people from leads to prospects? So from
True.
people who seem to fit the bill to people who are qualified, or companies who are qualified. And then how do you convert those prospects in paying customers? There may be different ways you go about it. Think about what is the most effective way. For me, is to actually have a call with the person or the company. So to
Mm-hmm.
hop on something like Zoom or something like that. So when it comes to generating leads for your podcast, and keep in mind that the majority of things we are going to discuss here apply to you whether you are a guest podcast host or both. Okay, so you can use them in different scenarios. So the first thing, and this is really the low-hanging fruit, is to think about offering your listeners a next step to the conversation they've been listening to. That next step can be countless things. It could be as simple as a checklist that you put together that touches upon what was discussed in the episode. It could be an invitation, for example, to join your online community. And your online community can be a Facebook group, it could be a Slack channel, a Discord channel, whatever platform or in whatever way you foster your community. It could be something as simple as inviting people to sign up for a webinar that you may be hosting, a digital workshop. It may be an invitation to join an in-person event, a meetup, which nowadays seems to be an unusual thing because of the pandemic and us getting used to do things remotely. And an advice that I would give is keep in mind the lack of the visual dimension with podcasting. So if you discuss a topic that is quite visual in nature, let's say photography, for example, then if your next step is a resource that makes up for that lack of visual dimension, you increase the chances of people taking that step. So for example, if in an episode you discuss, well, I'm not a photography expert, but let's say you discuss a specific technique to, I don't know, to capture a landscape, then you can describe it on your show. However, if it's not a video show, then the visual dimension is lacking. And that's where you can say, for example, hey, I've actually put together a PDF where I've captured the technique I've been discussing, and you can see the different angles I was discussing or something along those lines.
That's smart. It makes it
the
irresistible.
Next step is the initial. I'm sorry?
I was just saying that's smart because it's like it totally is the natural next step.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the initial thing, and it's really low-hanging fruit. Now, how do you increase the chances of people taking that next step? Well, first of all, whatever
Oh, you froze.
Okay, you should be able to hear me now.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, sorry about that. I think it's the connection on my end. So, yeah, so as we were saying, how do you increase the chances of people taking that next step? Well, first of all, you need to make sure that that next step, whatever it is as connected as possible to the topic that was discussed. Then the next thing to consider is make it easy for people to remember that next step, because chances are they are multitasking as they're listening to you. They may be walking their dog, exercising, driving, they are on the bus. So they may not be able to spend a lot of time, for example, looking for a very long URL you just mentioned. So try to keep the link you mentioned as simple as possible. If it's an existing link and that link is relatively long, then you can use something like pretty links, for example, if you're using a WordPress site to create a redirect that it's very easy for people to remember. It could be something like yannilunga.com/Lyndsay. And that it's something that as long as one knows how to spell Yann Ilunga, as long as one knows how to spell Lyndsay, it's easy for people to remember. You want to do that. Then there is one step that actually it's very important. And I learned this from Tom Schwab, whom I know you know as well, from Interview Valet and the author of the book Podcast Guest Profits. And he calls it the 3 yeses principle. And this can be really a game changer. A mistake I know I've made for sure plenty of times, and you probably have made this as well if you're here with Lyndsay and I, is you think about the page where you house that downloadable resource as a landing page as you would do for other marketing purposes. So what we have been taught is you want to have one call to action, one thing and one thing only on that page. But here's the problem. If you have one thing, and let's say your next step is inviting listeners to download a PDF. And then in order to do that, they sign up for your email list and you have a funnel. And through that funnel, you build the know, like, and trust factor. And then you have a premium offer. Perhaps you have a course, a video course, and you want to sell that. Now, if you just have the one thing and one thing only on your landing page, then what happens is you may have people who listen to you and they be relatively warm, ready to buy from you. But if you ask them, just go here, download the PDF, and then you have the email sequence, what happens is they're basically telling you, hey, I want to give you my money. I want to hire you. I want to buy from you. And you tell them, no, just wait for a while. Just go back at the beginning of the funnel. So how do we make up for that? Is to use what Tom Schwab calls the 3 yeses principle. What is that? You want to keep in mind that when you direct traffic to a page, and you do so from podcast hosting or podcast guesting, you are sending warm traffic. So unlike a traditional landing page where you may be sending cold traffic, for example, if you run a Facebook ads campaign or something like that, then you want to make sure that that page has next steps, plural. As you may have noticed, I said next steps that are tailored. Each of them is tailored to a specific target listener. What are those target listeners? The first one, or the resource that talks to a segment, to the first segment, is what Tom calls the small yes. What is that? The small size yes is something that requires little investment in terms of time and typically no investment from a monetary standpoint. Practical example, a checklist, a one-page checklist, a template, something like that. A person takes maybe a minute or so to go through the checklist. They can use it and get value from it right away. So it's free. It doesn't take them a lot of time to consume. Then we have the mid-size yes. And this is it's for people who have been quite impressed by your content, by your presentation skills and so forth, but they may still need some work in terms of warming them up. But they may be ready to buy from you. Probably not your high-ticket products or services, but they may be ready. So what is the mid-size yes? It's something that requires a higher investment in terms of time and a higher investment, a small investment in terms of money. What is that? It could be something like a short course that you have. It could be something like a webinar. If you have a webinar that you offer for free, it can still fit in the mid-size yes category. Why? Because if you think about it, with a checklist, it may take us a minute to consume it, whereas a webinar can be 30 minutes, an hour, or even longer than that. So you may have something that is still free that you offer as a mid-size yes, but has a longer investment in terms of time. Or you may have something that you sell that is low priced. Could be an ebook, can be a book, can be a short course, or something along those lines.
I know. And how many times have we taken that second yes and bought something for $27 or $17? And it's like, yeah, I want more of the thing.
Absolutely. And then if you are pretty clever, you can have a funnel connected to that, so that purchase can actually be the trigger that enable or that activates a funnel that perhaps then presents the person who's going through the funnel with a high-end offer or higher-end offer.
Yeah.
And then, well, you guessed it, we have the third and final yes, which is the big size yes. That's the big, the bold yes. And that's, as you may guess, requires more time to be consumed and more money. Okay, so that can be something like a training, consulting services, a coaching program, a virtual summit that you actually sell, and things of that nature. So as you're thinking about the page you create that houses the resource you offer listeners, always think about these 3 yeses, because as I said, there may be somebody who's ready to buy from you. And if you only tell them basically, no, just download the PDF and, let's talk about money in 3 weeks or however long your email sequence runs.
When you put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know for a fact that, for example, as a guest, even as a host, some of the people who have ended up hiring me, In some cases, we are talking about several $100s or even thousands of dollars worth of money invested by them. So if you are only offering a freebie, you are potentially leaving money on the table.
That's true. That's very true.
Okay, so this is kind of like on a macro level. Now, Captain, would you like me to share some examples that are more on a micro level, so to say, that focus on specific aspects?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, great. So if you have a Facebook group, and that's where you house your community, then you can actually use that group to generate leads. How do you do that? Very simple. You can have your group be a private or a closed Facebook group, and you can ask up to 3, nowadays they're called membership questions. And one of those questions could be, what's your best email address? In fact, that's what I ask. The last question I asked for people who request access to the group is, what's your best email address? Some groups say, because I want to add you to my email newsletter. I don't do that. I just say, because I have some resources and I would like to send your way something that is relevant to you. And how do we actually generate leads from our Facebook group? And how then do we tie that into podcasting? Well, the tying the group into podcasting is very simple. The Facebook group can be the next step we offer to our listeners. I know some people have offered that behind an email sign up. So in other words, on the show, they don't share the link of the Facebook group, but they share the link of a page that has an opt-in form. And once people sign up for the email list, one of the first emails that follows is the link to access the Facebook group. So in that case, you already get the email from the person when they sign up for your email list.
You get it up front instead of on the back end.
Exactly. But through Facebook, there are tools you can use to actually really get the information people share with you when they request to join your group. That's the cool thing about it, is that basically before you let people in the group, you can get some very important information. So you can ask them some key questions. One of the questions I ask, for example, because in the Podcast Growth Mastermind, we focus on different podcasting and podcast guesting related topics, more for beginners, monetization, guesting, marketing. I always ask, between these 5 topics, which is the one you are interested in learning more about?
Perfect.
So that I know that if you, Lyndsay, request access to the group, I know the other question I ask is, where did you hear about the group? So I know kind of the source of traffic. Was it me mentioning today? Was it you mention it in an interview you've done or an article you've written? Then I know, what is it that you're interested in learning more about? What is your pain point? And then I have your email address because I ask it. And there are tools you can use to easily extract that information. And I use one called Group Boss, and it's a Chrome extension. And Group Boss also integrates with Google Sheet. So then all the information that it's in a Google spreadsheet, I can easily just save it or export it. So that's one way that I can generate leads through my podcast paired with my Facebook group.
Yeah, it's kind of like indirectly, right? But you're also killing a bunch of birds with one stone. I mean, you're creating this community. You're being able to create relationships with your listeners and like nurture them and have conversations.
Exactly.
Yeah, so many wins.
Exactly. Absolutely right. So what if you don't have a Facebook group? Well, obviously you can start one. And there are other tools like Group Boss, similar to Group Boss. So you can the website is groupboss.io, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
you
I'll
can
stick that in the notes.
Check that out. Great. Thanks, Captain. And so obviously you can start a Facebook group, or you can say, I don't want to use a Facebook group. So how do I generate leads with my podcast? You can use a sort of special page, so to say, that houses the 3 yeses, but that can also house other things you think may be relevant for the listeners. And those may be, for example, your different offerings, maybe a link to your scheduling tool. If you want to have a discovery call and you want to invite people to have a discovery call so that you can talk with them, you can learn more about them, what their pain points are. And then you can see from your shop, so to say, which product or service is best suited to address that pain point. You can do it with website builders. There is plenty. You can use something like Lead Pages. Recently, I started to use a tool. It's very interesting. I like it. It's one of the latest or newest additions in my toolkit, but I really, really like it. And I think I'm going to be relying on it more and more as as time passes. And it's called, well, I don't know if it's pronounced Ajax or Ajax, but the spelling is Hyax. And I've noticed that they have kind of two nuances. One, it's the site, it's, well, Ajax, so hyax.com. And then there is another one that they are basically brother and sister, I dare to say. And the website, I think it's, I'm going to double check. I think it's it's hy.page. Okay, so
that's an odd URL, but okay.
Exactly, yeah. And what it allows you to do is to create a page where you can add all the key things. It could be links to your social media, if that's relevant, different resources you can add there. You can embed videos, you can embed podcast episodes or podcast players, rather. You can add links to your downloadable resources, links to the checkout for products and services you sell. And then you can also create funnels. So you can create a sequence of pages, and you have people go from listening to your podcast to the page, the initial page that you may mention on the podcast. And then when they take certain steps, a next page follows. And then in some cases, a next page follows. So something like that can work very well, especially because it's something where you may be putting in the work once at the beginning, and then that's it. So then what you need to do is basically drive traffic to it. So you mention the link on the podcasts you host or you guests on, and then, the traffic gets there and people find whatever you have put on the page. So on the one side, we have a, let's say, traditional page with the 3 S's. You can use that and then have an email sequence connected to the first step people take, download a PDF, sign up for a webinar, and so forth. And then at the end of that email sequence or your funnel, you may have a product or service you sell. Then you can have something like the community approach. So you may have a Facebook group. So as you put it very well, Lyndsay. You indirectly generate leads podcast. So you direct people from the podcast to the Facebook group, and Facebook or the Facebook group is the actual place you generate the leads from. Then we have this third approach, which is more, how to say, a sort of Swiss Army knife in a way, because you may have different, and being from Switzerland, I had to kind of put it in there. You may have different things you want to share. Perhaps there is a specific video you have recorded for your YouTube channel, and you think that would serve very well for generating leads. You may want to add that on the page. So as I said at the beginning, it depends on what your process looks like.
Totally.
If you generate leads or convert people by having calls, then the next step may be signing up for your scheduling tool, something like Calendly, Book Like a Boss, Sidekick AI, Acuity Scheduling. And there you may go about it in different ways. You may have an email sequence, and then you have the link in one of the emails. You can have the page, like I said, built with Ajax or something like that. And you can have one of the options you have there, or one of the things you have there could be, hey, click here and schedule a time for the two of us to have a conversation. So if you have a community, you can really use that as basically the pool you tap from when it comes to generating leads. If you don't have one, you can build a very simple lead generation system where you connect a downloadable resource to your email list. Then you connect that to a page, and then you connect that to your podcast through a call to action. Remember, the 3 S's really come in handy, especially when it comes to not only generating leads or getting email subscribers or getting appointments, but even when it comes to getting actual paying clients. So
absolutely.
Now you've only point. Exactly, yeah, because I mean, you want to think obviously, I'm not saying that everybody's going to go for the big size, yes, but there may be even just one person who listens to you and goes for the big size, yes. And if you don't have it on the page, if somebody really, really, really want to go for it, they're going to browse through your website and find the page and pages where they can purchase that from. But if you want to increase the chances of them actually making that happen, or sorry, for them actually going for it, then you want to make sure that your page has small size, mid size, and big size, yes. So to summarize here, it's important that you start and think about what your process looks like. And
you're all about processes, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. Processes and systems are my jam. And you want to make sure that you go with I walked you through a few different scenarios. You want to go for the one that is the most appropriate for you. Now, one may ask, well, what if I don't in a way, I don't fit in any of those scenarios? What is the easiest way for me to get started? The easiest way for you to get started is to think about what are the products and services you sell, you already have. It can even be maybe only one. You may have more than one. Then think about the topic or topics they address, they revolve around, and think about what are some pain points people have when it comes to that specific topic. And then you want to create a free downloadable resource that solves maybe one of those, let's call them smaller pain points. And then you want to connect that freebie to the premium offer through something like an email sequence. If you want to add a more personal touch to your lead generation processes, then you can use one of these two tools I have found about in the last few months that I've really, really liked, and they have really worked. I've heard people say, oh yeah, this is quite the unique way to get in touch with me. One of them is called SendSpark, and the site is sendspark.com. I'm just going to quickly double check. Yeah, sendspark.com. Cool. The other one is called Hippo Video. So Hippo, like the animal, hippovideo.io. Okay. And Hippo Video especially does a lot of different things. Oh, Bonjoro, it's another one. Bonjoro, Bonjoro. They do many different things, but the one feature I really like is that they enable you to send basically a video by email. And that's really powerful because you may welcome people through video, which is the closest you get to having a face-to-face interaction with that person. And that's a great way for you to really engage people, to really warm them up so that they may have experienced you on the podcast, on the video show, whether you were the host or the guest. And then if you just go to text, if you go back to text-only communication, they may kind of, their interest in a way may have a slight dip.
It's more personal, right?
Exactly. So using something like SendSpark, Hippo Video can work. And sure, you can send messages that are personalized to each person, or you can create one that is tailored to the people you're talking more in general. And then you can customize it by having, with Hippo Video, for example, you can basically put a line of code that says, like in email marketing software, that says first name. And when somebody joins your email list and says, my first name is Lyndsay, the video may have a thumbnail that says, hi Lyndsay, or the email you send may start with hi Lyndsay. And then if it's a different person, then the name Lyndsay would be replaced by that. So that's to add some personal touch. Yeah. So if you don't have anything, if you're just getting started, my recommendation would be that look at the product, service you may already have and sell. Look at the topics, pain points they revolve around, pick one or a couple, create a free resource that addresses and solves those and provides people with the quick wins, and then connect them and mention them on the podcast.
Awesome. I love how you laid it all out and all the different steps, especially for people that are just getting started, that they're like, where do I begin? Yeah. Now, a couple of quick questions for you on our speed round here. Mm-hmm. What podcasts are you listening to right now? Like, do you have a favorite or a different type, or Do you listen to business ones or more like personal ones that are like
Yeah,
fun?
I do. I listen to a little bit of everything. Now I listen to recently I've started to listen to the one from Mark Hunter because he's the author of a couple of books I've been reading,
Mhm.
and it's called Sales Logic. So that's maybe one I would mention at the moment that I'm diving into with the different
Cool.
episodes to learn more about his insights on different areas there related to lead generation and the sales development.
Oh, interesting. I always love hearing about new ones.
Mhm.
And you are like the tool master. You probably rhymed off about 7 today already. But like when it comes to lead gen,
Mhm.
and podcasting, is there a tool that you can't live without?
Well, if I had to mention one, I would probably say your email marketing software
Yeah.
because it comes in very handy for a few different purposes. I've used several over the years. Nowadays, I use one called Sandfox,
Hmm.
and it's a very easy having an email marketing software. It's a very easy way to have constant communication with
Automated.
your community, and you can do so automatically. You can have a one-to-many communication, but then if somebody replies to your email, it becomes one-to-one. So that's what I like about it. That enables you to go both from one-to-many communication and keep going that
Yeah.
way, but you can also switch to one-to-one if you prefer.
Perfect. And for fun, if you had to create a podcast that was something completely non-business related, what kind of podcast would you do?
Well, if I had to do one today, I would probably do something related to Japan, which is a country I'm
Hmm.
a fan of. I'm interested in the culture. I've been lucky enough to be there 3 times. So
Oh,
I'll
wow.
probably do a podcast that explores Japan. It has an in history and culture that fascinate me. So that's
Yeah.
probably what I would, if I were to just think about the top of my head, that's
Just something
probably
for
something I
fun.
would. Yeah, exactly.
That's so cool. Didn't you used to do one on jazz or music or
I
something?
do, yeah. That was actually my very first podcast.
Yeah.
It's still ongoing. It has seasons, so there are
Oh,
periods of
cool.
breaks in between seasons. But yes, it's called the Jazz Spotlight, and I started back in 2014. And I've interviewed on that show. I've featured Grammy Award-winning artists, some
Oh,
contemporary music
wow.
stars, and music industry experts.
That's amazing. How fun is that? I
It's
love when
really
people
fun.
have a business one and a fun one. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I don't
Yeah,
know
I
where you
agree.
find the
And
time.
sometimes, I'm able to combine my pleasure and passion for live music with my
Yeah.
work because sometimes because of that podcast, I get to attend music festivals and do interviews. So yeah,
Ooh,
I kill two birds with
fun.
one stone.
That is awesome. That's smart. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me live on Facebook. And of course, we'll be airing this on our Leverage Your Podcast show coming up in a few weeks. So I'm excited to do that. And yeah, and of course we'll continue to see each other and work together. And we have some goodies that we're cooking up, aren't we, Jan?
Mhm. Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't
I
wait
know.
for that to be out there. So I would definitely say make sure to follow Lindsay if you want to follow me. Great, because we have some exciting, should I say it, podcasting and podcast guesting related things coming
Totally.
up really soon. And also, if it's okay for you, Lindsay, since you said it, I'm a tools guy and we have talked about lead generation, I actually have combined the list of tools that I use on a daily basis, on a weekly basis to generate leads consistently and doing so organically, meaning you don't need to pay a penny to do that. I combine that list or I combine those tools into an ebook. So if it's okay for you,
Ooh,
I'd be
yeah.
happy to share the link for that for your
Yeah. What's
listeners
the
and
link? And I'll
viewers.
stick it up on the banner.
Yeah, if you go to yannilunga.com/leads, so that's YANNILUNGA, so yannilunga.com/leads. I'll make sure to have the page for you there, and you can download
Perfect.
the ebook. And if you have any questions, you can just reply to the emails you'll get, and I'm happy to give my 2 cents to whatever questions you may have, and lead generation related,
Yes.
prospecting related, sales development related, or even podcasting related.
And can you share quickly your Facebook group as well? Because there is a ton of resources and help in there. It's such a good group.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And you've been a member for years, and I love it, and it's growing. And I'm also been thinking about some changes with that. So exciting things coming that way as well. But the group itself is called Podcast Growth Mastermind. But the easiest way to access it, I created a link that it's easy for you to remember. So you see, I also walk the walk. If you go to yannilunga.com/community, it will redirect you to the page to join the Podcast Growth Mastermind Facebook group, which, as I said earlier, was mentioned or was dubbed Podcasting Community to Join by Forbes. So, hey, welcome. Join us. Lyndsay is there. I'm there. And close to almost 5,000 other podcasting enthusiasts are there as well.
Awesome. Well, I know it's late in the day for you. Thank you so much for coming online with me. I always love chatting with you.
My pleasure.
Well, we'll talk soon, I'm sure. All right. Hit Yann up with any questions that you guys have in the comments. And of course, definitely go to the podcast group. Yann is, if you ever have questions about tools, ask Yann. I'm like, I don't even know where you find the time to research them.
Good question.
Oh, you blow my mind. Awesome. Have a great night, Yann.
You too. Thanks again, Lyndsay.
See ya.